The drums echoed through the dense jungle of Pandora Prime as the Navari elders gathered beneath the ancient Tree of Souls. Their blue skin glowed faintly in the twilight, and their golden eyes reflected centuries of wisdom and power. Elder Zasudi raised his weathered hands toward the sky and began to chant in the old tongue. The words were sacred, passed down through 1,000 generations. They were calling forth the great Toruk, the legendary beast that ruled the skies of their world. The human colony had been on Pandora Prime for 3 years now. They came with their metal ships and strange machines, digging into the sacred ground for minerals the Navari did not understand or care about. At first, the elders tried to ignore them. Let the small creatures play with their toys, they thought. But the humans grew bolder. They expanded their operations, cutting down ancient trees and polluting the crystal rivers. Elder Moog stood beside Sudi, her long tail swaying with anger. She had tried to negotiate with the human leader, a man called Carl Harrison. He was a tall human with cold gray eyes and a voice like grinding stones. He had laughed at her warnings. He had called the Navari primitive and backward. He had promised that nothing on this world could stop human progress. Today, they would prove him wrong. The chanting grew louder as more Navari joined the ritual. Warriors, hunters, and elders alike lifted their voices to the sky. The Tree of Souls pulsed with ethereal light, its roots connecting to the vast neural network that covered the entire planet. Through this network, the call went out. It traveled across mountains and oceans, through valleys and deserts, until it reached the highest peaks of the Forbidden's Range. In the human base camp, Dr. Sarah Chun looked up from her research terminal. The seismic monitors were going crazy. Something massive was moving through the atmosphere, something that defied all known laws of physics. She rushed to find Colonel Harrison, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and scientific curiosity. Harrison stood in the command center, watching the same readings. His face was calm, but his knuckles were white as he gripped the edge of the console. The satellite feeds showed a shadow moving across the northern continent, a shadow so vast it blocked out the setting sun. Whatever was coming, it was bigger than anything they had ever recorded. The great Toruk descended from the clouds like a god of old. Its wingspan stretched for nearly 2 kilometers, each wing membrane thick enough to block all light. Its body was covered in armored scales that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and its eyes burned with ancient intelligence. The creature had lived for 10,000 years, sleeping in the heart of the Forbidden's Mountains, waiting for the call of the elders. The Navari warriors cheered as the mighty beast circled overhead. Their plan was simple. The great Toruk would destroy the human base, scatter their ships to the winds, and drive the invaders from their world forever. Elder Suti smiled for the first time in months. The prophecy was coming true. The old gods had answered their prayers. Colonel Harrison watched the creature approach on his tactical display. His officers were panicking, shouting orders and scrambling for evacuation protocols. But Harrison remained still. He reached for his communicator and spoke 3 words that would change the course of history. Activate Project Prometheus. Deep beneath the human base, massive doors began to open. The ground shook as ancient machinery came to life, systems that had been dormant since the colony ship first landed. Dr. Chun watched in disbelief as something rose from the underground hangar. It was humanoid in shape, but massive in scale, standing nearly 300 meters tall. Its hull was made of reinforced titanium alloy, and its surface was covered with weapon systems that glowed with barely contained energy. The Titan-class combat mech had been humanity's secret weapon, built in case negotiations failed and force became necessary. It was powered by a fusion core that could generate enough energy to power a small city, and its neural interface was connected to the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created. Inside the cockpit, a single pilot named Lieutenant James Walker felt the machine respond to his thoughts like an extension of his own body. The great Toruk saw the metal giant rise and felt something it had not experienced in millennia. Confusion. The creature had faced countless enemies over its long life, from rival predators to volcanic eruptions to asteroid impacts. But it had never encountered anything like this. The metal thing moved with purpose and precision, raising one massive arm toward the sky. Elder Jasudi watched in horror as the impossible happened. A beam of concentrated plasma shot forth from the metal giant's arm, cutting through the air faster than sound. The great Toruk banked hard to avoid the attack, its ancient instinct screaming warnings. But the beam was too fast, too precise. It struck the creature's left wing, burning through scales that had never known damage. The great Toruk screamed, a sound that shattered windows in the human base and brought Navari warriors to their knees. It was a cry of pain and disbelief, a sound that had not been heard on this world since the last extinction event. The creature crashed through the jungle canopy, its massive body carving a trench half a kilometer long through the ancient forest. Lieutenant Walker advanced the Titan mech toward the fallen beast, each footstep creating small earthquakes. Dr. Chun's voice came through his communication link, urging caution and restraint. But Colonel Harrison's orders were clear. Neutralize all threats, secure the area, demonstrate humanity's superiority. The great Toruk struggled to rise, its damaged wing dragging uselessly at its side. For the first time in 10,000 years, the creature felt fear. It looked upon the metal giant and saw something it could not comprehend. This was not a predator or a force of nature. This was something entirely new, something that did not belong to the natural order of the world. Elder Maud fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The prophecy had failed. The old gods had proven weak against the strange magic of the humans. She watched as the metal giant loomed over the great Toruk, its weapons charged and ready to deliver the killing blow. Around her, Navari warriors dropped their bows and spears, their spirits broken by the sight of their god, brought low. But then something unexpected happened. Lieutenant Walker hesitated. Inside the neural interface, he could feel the Titan's weapon systems locked onto the wounded creature. One thought, one simple command, and the great Toruk would cease to exist. But as he looked through the mech's optical sensors, he saw something that gave him pause. He saw the fear in the creature's eyes, the confusion, the pain. He saw a magnificent being that had lived for longer than human civilization had existed, reduced to helpless vulnerability. His finger hovered over the mental trigger, but he did not fire. Colonel Harrison's voice crackled through the comlink, demanding to know why Walker had not completed his mission. The lieutenant did not respond. Instead, he slowly lowered the Titan's weapons and took a step backward. The massive mech knelt down, bringing its optical array closer to the wounded Toruk. For a long moment, human and alien creature regarded each other in silence. Dr. Chun rushed to the command center, pushing past confused officers to reach Harrison's side. She had been monitoring the neural link and had seen what Walker saw. She understood what he was doing, and she knew it was right. Humanity had not crossed the stars to become destroyers. They had come seeking knowledge, connection, and a new home among the stars. The great Toruk sensed the change in the metal giant's posture. Its ancient mind, connected to the vast neural network of the planet, reached out tentatively toward the strange creature before it. And to its amazement, it felt something reaching back. The Titan's AI had detected the neural signal and was attempting to establish communication, translating the alien thought patterns into something the human pilot could understand. Images flooded Walker's consciousness. He saw the history of Pandora Prime through the eyes of its oldest inhabitant. He saw the rise and fall of civilizations, the coming and going of ice ages, the slow dance of continents across the surface of the world. He saw the Navari emerge from the forests, developing their culture and their connection to the natural world. And he saw how small and temporary the human presence truly was in the grand scope of planetary time. When Walker finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. He reported to Colonel Harrison that the threat had been neutralized, but not through destruction. He had found a better way. The great Toruk was willing to negotiate, to share its world with the newcomers if they were willing to respect the ancient balance. The creature's mind, vast and ancient, had recognized something in humanity that the Navari elders had missed. Humans were young, yes. They were sometimes reckless and often foolish. But they were also capable of growth, of change, of choosing mercy when destruction would have been easier. The great Toruk had seen many species rise and fall over the millennia, and had recognized in humanity the potential for something truly remarkable, not because of their weapons or their technology, but because of their capacity for compassion. Elder Tsuti approached the Titan mech with cautious steps, his eyes fixed on the metal giant that towered above him. Through the neural network, he felt the message from the great Toruk, and his worldview shifted forever. The old prophecies had been incomplete. They spoke of the Toruk as a destroyer of enemies, but they forgot that the greatest victory was not always won through violence. Sometimes, the true test of strength was knowing when not to fight. In the weeks that followed, humanity and the Navari began a new chapter in their shared history. Colonel Harrison was recalled to Earth, replaced by diplomats and scientists who understood the value of cooperation. The mining operations were restructured to minimize environmental impact, and human technology was shared with the Navari to help heal the wounds they had inflicted on the land. Dr. Chun led the effort to study the planetary neural network, discovering knowledge that would revolutionize human understanding of biological systems. And high above the jungle, the great Toruk flew once more. Its wing had healed, stronger than before, where the human technology had repaired the damage. It circled the Tree of Souls, watching over both the blue-skinned natives and their strange new neighbors. The creature had lived for 10,000 years and had learned many things. But in its encounter with humanity, it had learned perhaps the most important lesson of all. True strength was not measured in firepower or physical power. It was measured in the courage to show mercy, the wisdom to seek understanding, and the humility to recognize that every intelligent being had something valuable to offer the universe. The humans had proven themselves worthy of their place among the stars, not by defeating the great Toruk, but by choosing to save it. The sky that had once turned dark with fear now glowed with the promise of a shared tomorrow.